do have time to squeeze in one question here. I just want to get this in because it has dropped in a couple of times, albeit worded slightly differently. But what do you see, what problems do you see with remote working and video conferencing that might affect office use and the demand for office space ultimately moving forward?
That is a very good question. Because generally the received wisdom is that is the miraculous solution to social distancing and everything else. But I have any number of problems. First of all, economic. It shifts the cost of creating the workspace and the hardware and software to the staff employee from the firm, and that doesn't seem quite right. What's the first thing they tell you about working remotely is find dedicated space. Well, that's not a luxury everyone has, and even to the extent they have it, they're paying something for it. So to the extent the footprint is shrinking, and so the firm, whether it's a law firm or otherwise, is enjoying the benefits of working remotely, they're essentially just shifting the cost of the space as well as the hardware to the non-equity or those who aren't principals of the firm. There's also two other issues. One, importantly, we're social animals, and isolation, I've read even long before this, is as much a stressor or creates as much trauma as any other major life event like bankruptcy, loss of job, divorce, death in the family, which only makes sense as an evolutionary matter. So working remotely in itself represents a form of isolation, and if you drop out inadvertently of a Zoom conference where someone is about to make a significant pronouncement, I would guess you will panic, particularly if you're a younger attorney who's about to be charged. If you've ever seen that episode in Seinfeld where George doesn't hear what the charge is and is too timid to ask, you can see what happens. And then there's also the technology. We have yet to reach a circumstance where video conferencing is not hackable and actually works consistently. I was just involved in a video conference not more than a week or two away where it was hacked. Well, it couldn't have been more than 13, 14-year-old kids whose idea of disrupting the meeting was burps. And then you hear about the ones who make crude drawings and things like that. So we're far from a position where we're secure. And as well, if we're working remotely, there are going to be inherent security problems because we'll probably be using the same routers that our kids are using, who are, looking at pretty sketchy websites, and that router may be the means by which your firewall is penetrated, or the firm's firewall is penetrated, and they won't need to use phishing or all the other schemes about which we're taught. And besides, my youngest son was brilliant. One of those kids that Trump referenced as sitting in the garage, 300 pounds, although his 300 pounds was 6'4" on lightning quick feet, so he was recruited heavily, but he thought that his mind and that body was God's cruel joke. But he was, at the age of 14, he could crack into anything. He got into the CIA. And what's interesting is decades ago, he could see, he said, Chinese footprints everywhere. So as hard as we try to secure our positions, I'm convinced there are just simply too many kids out there or others who will ultimately be able to break through, and remote working will just make it all that much worse. Finally, and this is interesting to me at least, we've got to deal with deep fakes, and those are I guess there was one involving Obama where in a deep fake they can take the image of Obama, and remember we're only looking at two-dimensional figures, and put words in there, manipulate the image sufficiently that it sounds like they're saying something alarming or calming or soothing or whatever is necessary, and you wouldn't know that you're not listening to whoever it is you think, whether it's one of the partners or manager or the CEO or what have you. What you're looking at is a deep fake. Moreover, one that can pass what's called the Turing test. Now, how many of you are familiar with the Turing test? But it's a list of questions that you ask. What you ask to ensure that what you're not talking to is a robot. We all take, whenever we try to enter websites, and we tick that thing that says I'm not a bot, and then you see those pictures and they say pick the ones that have a car, and you panic because you can't tell. I think maybe I am a bot. I don't know. That's a Turing test. So by the time we finally think we've got it secured, we'll end up, we won't know who's in the conference room. That's my sense. And so, and my guess is as well, people won't like working remotely as much as people think. It may be fun now, but after a while, they'll want a place they can call their own in the office. So my guess is that those law firms or others who think they can shrink space may be shocked when people want to come back and they don't have a place to put them. And I can see that. And actually, I say all of this, and even after I started saying it, I've been reading affirmations from a variety of different sources that this is all coming true. But I hope that's an adequate answer. Point of it, though, for commercial leasing is you have to have to understand for the client's purposes that if they shrink the office space too much, they may find they don't have enough, much like those who grow more quickly than they anticipated and have no ability to exercise any options to expand. They may find themselves in the same position. There's also the problem, by the way, where working remotely may be a condition of employment if the firm considers that its commitment to the smaller footprint is set in stone, and they're not going to make space available to you. So you better well equip yourself for working remotely. And that would be unpleasant for someone like me who's entirely analog. I'm in the office as I am now every day.